we are all so excited to see your presentation.
먼저 강가 대랑함 되어 다리 님들라. 다 다리 빼 님은 침부레스.
And when you think about it, this has been not just a week in the making, but this is really the culminating project of all 6 years of your neuroscience.
근데 초진 때는 달랭이 님은 두 럽티 제베 아니 다 가서 그래. 죽태 님은 소리스레스. 제 가전 제메 님들레스. 이내 초진 삼다나 로투 용조기 아니 원자 세리 럽티 제베 다리기 아니 제메 두겁드레스. 제 두겁드레스.
So this is a big achievement and a special day.
제니 믹스에 이미지레스 아니 가서 그래다 tumde 쟁기 이미지레스.
Just want to give you a reminder about our schedule today. We have student presentations the first session of the morning, the second session of the morning, and again at the 3:30 session.
제니 다리기 주주디 페이지 계단디 쇼게 소두니가 제 니고 소두인디 당부 소두 당부지와 당부인데 체간이지와 데모가체 숨도 체간이야 좀 해레스 아니 디 나로 난다 주주 담지하고 제비는 거라 거기도스.
So we're looking forward to you being the teachers and teaching us everything you learned in your project.
다들이 넘버서 기겐돼야 주주레스 먼저 루프 야고 체니 야고 년제 아니 제가 더버지기스.
This is my favorite part.
이 고랑이 가슈 제약이 차실이
So when your group begins their presentation, please remember to tell us your group number so we can know who you are, and let us and please remember that you have a total of 12 to 14 minutes, and that has to include translation, questions, discussion.
네, 루가 수수 야팽이와 피디 루가 수수 밍 루가 수수 안기디 이미지 소로나스. Do you need to know the individual participants?
No, just the group numbers.
Yes. 전에 루가 수수기 안기단 주는 되게도 미 메링거레기 밍 고구마레스. 이제 전에 루가 레레라 견돔네 까만 중인이 주시버디오레스. 까만 중인이 주시버디스데 대나로라 게 유래야 돼 수그레 디버틀렌 제 수그레 강가 수그레 다스.
And it's less than 2 minutes per slide.
Yes, that's fast. It's fast. So given that it's so fast, we will try, if we have questions, we'll try to hold our questions until you're finished to make sure we have time for you to finish. And then if we have time, we can ask you some questions.
근데 이제 뒤주 통도마디와 말했어. 진짜 뒤주 배주 찾아 야보다에 된다라. 내당부대 넘버스마 럽지 제저라 호텔 뒤주 조 되긴스. 되는 하마하나 아니 뒤주 저들린 제 되긴스.
And I'm going to keep time, so when you only have 1 minute left, I'll just be doing this.
되는 개인기 뒤주 가긴스 뒤주 가비깔라. 아니 소소소라 아니 마 럽지 제 뒤주 나로네. 까만치를 하베깔라. 까만치 원들 하마서 슈기. 아니 까만치 나로 잡샤고레스.
The reminder is that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock will be the final exam.
전수 땅에 니버지디 아니 산이 쇼게 차서 개발 먼저 도면도 이제 다야레스.
And then a party in the afternoon.
대쇼고 가가토도 나야레스.
Okay, so before we start, I just want to take a moment to tell you this has been a great honor and a privilege and also a delight to be with you here and to learn from you as well as to be able to teach you something about what I know.
단당 아주 고마주 고는데 아니 삼주 같이 쉬나 삼주스 아니 남아서다 렌도 다른 쪽시안죠 좀니 로지치아 고가라고디 샤 가보충스 아니 즉 가소를 첨부 아니는 즉 고급 첨부 시우지보다 최동 첨부 시우지보다 근데 이 손안 중스 아니 뒤 줄임이 나올라 아주 만 럽티 제 그래데 대다 냠도 남아서네 수 얼마 보시우 시엔 중스.
You are wonderful students.
Number so love to permisi yaptıracağız.
If I'm only given a chance to say one thing when I go back to America, here's what I would say.
किसी कोनला 지난 집은들 납초고 말했어. 전 아리를 파 로베가라 디 차소 차시디나라 단데 디 드림나라 아니 차시렘바 디단 타니 그래서 지금도 시에 저거 말이 네 시에서 라비나스.
And that is that you are joyful learners and you have inspired me.
남아서 롭주 가드 코에 롭주를 샤스. 롭주 지기 가드 징제 는 롭주 지기도스. 가드데 데베톤 롭주 지기도스. 안티 코란라에 셈시 슈즈 파소스.
My wish for you is that that's always true in your whole life.
안에 공기 레와타 멜람 자야라 무투제 미지 강부데 아니 먼저 롭주 샤야기 내단 진사 무투네 미지 강부데 내단 다가라 가드 코에 내단 다게 네 다게 물에 내도야 멜람 자기 예스.
I want to say first that it's been a great honor and privilege for me to be here with you.
네, 남아서 렌제 다른 둘럽디나에 배야 고급 중에 아니 공원 라이 채동 신부 시우지 남보다 아니 고급이네 시우 상부지 남바 소중스.
Maybe you know the English word cool.
인지 책 나올로 쿨 사지와 쿨 수도 땅어저 합도 주는 땅모 사진사.
All my friends, all over the world, from America, Europe, England, Africa, India, all my friends think I'm very, very cool because I'm here with you.
They think
I'm cool because I'm here.
공기 초보 아 나도 점링 사초 가서 갈 초보 망부 예스 아프리카 기초에 아니 아리다 진 lumba 망보나 초보 망부 예스 초보 건지 아니 걔라 단단데 아니 베베 건지 타상지 나로라 체니 롭지 지기 열에서 내주 고용데 디제 땀어제레스 라고도 상게.
So I agree with Dr. Kruger that you are wonderful students and that you throw yourselves into the learning process.
쟤네 단다 게 보름바 아자 그루거 코네 수에나 신제네 코에 무디지기 예스 넘버서 롭주 배드 또는 그에 롭주지 아니 지금 소소 düğünlerle 차야기 정식 가르르지네 디간라 배 자기 총지 제제배 여제데 받던지 안럽는 그도스 여제 메제 earlier we had one teacher in the biology who has a album named Full Throttle. Full throttle. Yeah, that's exactly what you said, right? They put their whole in it.
Full total. Okay, great. So I always learn more from teaching than from studying and reading.
가디네 코난기 시가럽지다 곰시럽지다 뇽야 가서 냠뇽지라 밀라만 롭티 체윤데 수수 시한데 망쇼 연구도스 수수 고고를 제제 로데벨 갑게 시야지로 시야게 최다 만 롭티 시한에 은 시야게 최 니부디 시라 개바침부도 만 롭티 시디 수수 시야 망아 연구도스.
So I really learned a huge amount about the brain and the mind while we were working here together.
제니 레바다 셈지콜라 아니 땡갈레자 하자 망부시엔 중스 나바솔 가서 롭티 제베 주림디 요안에 시오지게 내수사와 망부시엔 중스.
You have come to the end of 6 years of scientific studies.
나바솔 단다 니 레자게 와네 다 로림 두버신 타마데 레디오레스.
And the Bushmen in Africa would say miwi ika, which means I praise you all.
아프리카는 유행이 부시맨 세미리지와 군주 나바솔 가르송고데나 미리 워카. So that was
I praise you all.
나바솔 강갈 체득이 면도 토르 심규스.
I know that now that you know science and Buddhist thought, that you be having debates about science and Buddhist thought.
제네 나바솔 단다디 세리기 롭티 체바티 주림네 뱅 랑슈기 용대지라 나바솔 계기 소솔이나데 소바이길레이네데 디나로라 아니 낭슈다 세리기 따당 돌 촐랭당 가소레 삼시제다 디고고 연구레스.
Of course, Buddhist thought will win in the debates.
가두이네 넘버스 쩨베 갑라 체리다 나초 쩨베이네 나초 톱냐레스.
But the attackers from science will know a lot about Western science, even if the defenders win.
레데 그냥 담자로 지기요나 아니 낭추기 담 가서 따다로 숭조로 부질라 담자 숭네 안데라 체리 따다는 게 돈에 안파 겔렌으로 제비나 겔렌 제베 타면 뒤에 아니 지게 낭초디 토베 시그레스 미나야 디 규림되게 나로라 아니 가서래 겔렌 바니가 아니 알로제다 삼주사바다 용구리스.
And going forward in life and in your studies, you can keep two things in your mind now, a very big part of your mind for Buddhist thought, and some part of your mind for science.
근데 네 글로준시야기 중앙 가서 규림들의 와네 아니 지금 다 사샤베 고도브레 아니 냠뇨레 근데 디 미즈 강볼라 디기 가서레 제뉴더부디 슈더부디 데그레스 근데 데베 토네 내당 가와로지 네 엔타베 갑라 따초 테버지 용지 톤 용부토네 아니 지 토스 바자게바다 사바다 근데 용야 에라바요리스.
And you will be able to always know what Western scientists do.
근데 이 내당 와라 아니 지 세리베 따초네 데베 토네 고주 거리치기리 고주 디톨 간데스 시간에 삼주랑그레스 전에 처바로 제약이 시지 그레스.
And you will keep your minds open and you will be able to understand new discoveries.
근데 돈에 아니 선부터 깨양으로 제 고첸 대학이 시계의 자루고래 근데 자버디 규네 아니야 지금 니주사와 아니 통야다 근데라 아니
So new discoveries about the atom, new discoveries about DNA, new discoveries about the brain, you will and the mind you will understand.
되는 시즌에 제리 규림 거래 나올리네 단다시에 되벨에 더동시에 사와는데 용되게 무튼 용해 유사 남부주다 시den시등 사비토네 아니 섬당쇼 토니네 즉 세리 따단단 당쇼 따단 가리인도 센데기 다야기 시간자가 용데 아니 뒤주던 누구 전에 산예 녀도 사와는데 중부대주에 안데게 삼시기 차시 유그레스.
And that will be for a long time after I shed my grosser self. And you'll be here learning about new scientific knowledge.
근데 내단데 남부서 토리나 아니 유ring부체니 콩베데 폐차니 지된들레 바 유사니 이사비 슈골이네 남부서 근데기 아니 가서래 자샤 나올라 무튼이 슈니 되게스.
So therefore you are all part of my connection to the future.
아니 초진이 삼담은 나가서 대화 중에 디규네 콩드 폐사베 온도단에 남부서 무튼이 된데 자샤 나용디 초진이 되나 콩기 차시디 다도 무튼이 루에 없어지레스.
And I want to say for that from my scientific Western core self and also from my Buddhist core self, tukjeshe.
텐데기 둘람지 용구여서 둘람 텐데기 용구여 베토라 아니 체리베 다라 다수기 나로네 아니 시메다 멍시다 유아 에나 가서레 포기다 센 포기다다 아니 낭슈 돈에 단예베다 니가 송데 돈에 도지체 수긴 있어.
So I just want to say a couple words. I don't know if I said this at the beginning, but you are my first students ever.
전에 당부대 내주 가시 쉬어야 있어. 이게 당부도 쉬어야 되라. 나봐서 공기 높죠 당부장을 했어.
And I have to say I feel very bad for the American students who come after you.
다 공안 높지 나기 가서 뒤림나 죽으러와 차례나 죽으러와 아니 차례 거기 아릴라 아니 높지 나기 차례 고추게 잡라 높지기 딱 기겐기 차시 되네 고추러와 대 고추인데 기겐 높지 쉬어야 죽으러와 다판도는 아니 가서래 너구 답잖아스 판도나 parlona ani da lutu desam gi tende ne sa leg mesa ani sem gthone chi kasorta deba ma gen yo thank you.
And while I think it's very obvious to me that you have taught me more than I have taught you, if there's one thing that I can say is to recognize something that you already have, which is you all have a curiosity.
Seni nabusu dadat de nabusu jebe pichu ji no la 마음 없이 제를 하 그러네 너무들 표시한 제가 가장 이 마음 순서 아니 너무들 때 우리 아니 저기 가서래 아 네 주세요 시우지 갖고 있으나 너무 건강한 아니 현재 나도 시우도 사실 또나 이상 수준도
And whether you want to define yourselves as scientists or not, it's that curiosity that makes a scientist.
전에 너무들 지금 가서래 비즈니스 순서에 가라 즉 세리고 차가야 너무지 그 무슨 때 남아데 지금 따라하는 지 뭐 하래 이나야 아니 쌤이 나와네 근데 현재 남고 해야 그런 친구 요약 가라
And I just wanted to say thank you to Anne and Mel, Geshe-la and Lake-pa, all of our videography, and all of you.
나서 강가는 대나무 니체 먼저 기주 니체 한다 바중이 살리는 게 맞지 나서 강가는 그게 제일 중요해. 야, 다 루가 너무 배셔스. 까면 숭기 빠르고 시작이 나오나 한게 죽으러 아니 다 뒤지 덤지난 거로 뒤지 야보식 배지 잡아요.
당아서 어로가 동봉문에 길로소말라 슈바디리슈에
Good morning to everyone, including our wonderful teachers and classmates.
길라 넘바서긴 가서라 ane lottery kugone karencheshe.
We are very grateful for your taking trouble in coming here and giving us lessons.
anga ngute didi chi je yin bi khare de ta ngute chi shiramen do ta.
If we had more time, then I could indulge in introducing the team members, but that wouldn't be appropriate now.
ngaso ta je gi rimba do truten de so ta gela no ba sang ki no ba sala lottery no gre ya fasera na ashe.
The rest of my team members will be doing the main presentation, touching on the different aspects of the project. And I ask you all to pay good attention.
Oh, number so.
Good morning.
당아스디 기도 전옥 찬지래. 전옥 요 제라바지래. 대 가성견 좀마 청디 디센트지나 굿스도. 전옥이야 드레스. 전옥이야 데마 아니 레디나 디는 제라바지레스.
This has something to do with illusion, and that's part of the illusion thing that they are going to touch on.
다 가성견은 견수가 점시했던 시 송송. 디는 내가 진님부드니 다 지금은 쓰두자인스.
We have a much longer outline in how to go about it, but in the interest of time, we have summarized it into these four.
아니 동부 저와 지기지라.
First is question,
디지털 소자 지기.
hypothesis,
디지털 아니 잡시 지기.
test,
디지털 접도 년도인지 생각해.
conclusion.
다 그래서 무슨 드리지 통용원도 제나 봐. 물론 드리지 통용원도 제나. 아니 들리지 골건들도 만다와 드리지 통도 있으라. 반나 드리지 좋아. 지진도 또 통.
Supposing when we suppose that we look at this, we observe this, we have a feeling that there is something in the core of it that's moving in a different direction.
단달라 때는 아주 좋아지려고 그랬어. 아주 물론들이 간디진 너무 열었어. 또 동물을 바른들이 열도 요 말했어.
So the question arises as to how come we have this observation? Is it really the objective Is it really the reality there out there that we are seeing, or what's going on?
다 반한들이지 지지장 와서라 고문 컬러도 넣어서 당아서 남기 비야션 되는 데자 알서 논치노를 여디하던 고문 컬러도 넣었다고 이제 와 대란 체치하듯이 되기 전에 완전 되는 고문 컬러 사이드지 라이샤이스.
This is somewhat like firebrand. When it is moved around, then you have illusion of it being a total circular whatnot, whereas in reality it is not. And there's a reference to that in Buddhism also, but we are using that term here, except the example is a little different. So based on that, they come to make this hypothesis. It may be because it may be not because there is in reality something circular going on, except the mind is the eye is having difficulty in catching up with the speed at which the movement is taking place. It is being moved, and thus we have this illusion of it being what do you call continuous circle. No, this is very similar to where we find in our text where there are efforts to explain illusions, and one of the reasons for illusion, something like that, is because of the because of the very fast movement of something that we get an appearance of something which is not there in reality.
One
another example would be, suppose we have a stack of paper, so many stacks of paper, and we hit with an arrow. It will look like the arrow hits all of them at the same time, which is not the case in reality, except it happens so quick that that's the appearance we have. So in terms of the test they carry out, it had so many components in it, in terms of checking whether it makes a difference between those people with clear eye and not, and that too they kept data of how many falls into the unclear and how many into the clear, and then also took note of the time it takes in having those observation and and then the distance and as to whether it makes a difference when you have one of the eyes closed or both of the eyes closed, and then how it appears in the beginning, at the end, do they differ, and as it is swirling, if one also moves one's head along with that, does it make a difference? And they also put in some characters there, letters there, to like ka, cha, za, to kind of look at how they appear. So they are asking the classmates, saying, what would be your hypothesis? Suppose there is a three-pronged wheel or three-pronged thing, a thing with three ends, and if that is made to swirl quickly with three characters like ka, cha, za or k, s, r on each of the ends, what would you see?
Yeah, that number is China. Don't go on to see this. Can't answer the chant of the Santos. But not the need is it. The Kioma Dinamado, the Timothy Ning is yours. Ah.
Oh yeah. Instead of putting the letters on each of the end, they have put them all in one, on one, on the rim. So the answer, the question is, what would they see? Any of these particular characters or what?
Ah. Yeah, tombo kanthozarda chanthozarda chanthozar.
What would you see? What would you first see? Ka, cha, or sa character?
Or that tanda chikshial dirda. Mazu di tatari pe de jara masu di ode jai tande.
So instead they have put in the English characters there. So the question would be, what would they see first of the three characters written on the same on one circle?
That de sum no ne tombo de jena kanthos saris.
So in order. La.
Tamung gozo sa jero. Timi shucham karele te bena ti tonzo.
Six. La.
Didi kora. Tombo kanthos sarele.
So the question they are asking is which of the three characters would they see first? And he's saying depending on where your mind lies, you will see that. So he has chosen to focus on R. So as per his opinion, despite being the order KS, despite being the order KSR, he says they will see R first, some say S first.
Yeah, tombo dil try that de tombo thong go ki kar res.
So
de tombo thong gere la chiwa.
그 진세 가르스나라기. 소 저번에 가르토는 참아 이는 셈바등에 아르등에 통이 있어 셈바들 때에 가르쳐.
So he was asked which of the three characters he would see, R or what. He says R, and he was asking what is your reason behind that. He said it's not because there is anything special with R, but he had intentionally said to see the R. That's how he could see it.
Ah, that is right. That's sinton lari langit so karchin sinton lairis. Ah.
So what about those who say S would be the one that they would detect, and they say it's because it's in the center.
Ah, that is take only ka sai ke thon lari langit so kare. Oh, de karchin. Ah. 야, 당아주 따이다. 오래 다데 아주 쳤다지야 돼. 다이테기 비디오든 로마서 다데. 냥거든 로마서 다게 루티치 말이사.
Ale.
다데 아주 따지지야 기 르카니 고니 따지지야. 어 다데.
Somehow the video didn't work. They had their test done on two groups. Yeah, group needs.
Laso stile sama. Ani ngajudi gochagi dada mi taje je de mi tuye ro yen. Dada diga la ngajo yakwo ji dik thuma so mi jima to dik yo mari.
Here they could not include all of the participants. Actually, they had 6 each in two groups.
Laso diga la ni tuk dik chai.
And here in the paper, they have all of them accounted for.
Laso deni di taje je la ni kebar de ro yen. Ani ngajo mi niga dang pa chik ta chi da ani mi chik dan ta ya to
Niga kamni.
mi ta ya ro yen. Ani mi chik ta ya. Oh ya. Mi ki ta ya chi laso.
Kare? Oh, chikam. Oh yeah.
Laso.
So yeah, so they did the test on the two groups. In this difference, one would be seeing it with both eyes together, and the other would have one of the eyes closed.
Laso deni di chidan kebar chi uduragi ani mi kajiga ani garezana migni dan gyoba thoya chero ani yang kaji migni le chige ani gyoba thoya che kaji ani chigban ro thoya migni gi dana chigi dana kebar mewa do deni tabe mangboji duragi.
So it is quite amazing that in some cases the difference is huge, some difference is not, and the difference is depending on what their eye positions were, either closed or one closed or both of them open. They would see that the speed of the movement in a very form.
Lots again. Gyöngi chen da chiongi gyöngi chawaina ani mik chigda da de gyön chewa dos dezo mik chigda da de ringbo dezo. Chunang chewa de.
So kagare mix it. The one in lighter shade it represents the a group who looked at it with one eye closed, and they seem to have the illusion seem to have greater effect on them.
Lots gyöngi chan again. Then
On average.
No, lots. Then darang mare. Lots.
당아서 접던 저들
So now their conclusion is
니디 미세멜라 바비니 트와치 정도스 아주 기대 딘디 지ren다 문이가 있다이나 되게 이제 코아지와 된 교봉원 센터야도 문이가 있다이나 무지가 있다이나 시라시라 된 교봉 코아데 다다다다 이기네 레디 레블렌지도 대봉원 센터문다 대당한테 무기 셀기 전에 배켜본도
so when they were saying clarity or not clarity is based on whether they had both of their eyes open or only just one of them open, and they have seen that the effect is much greater when one of the eyes is closed.
당아서 디노는 양센들지다 요 만다지 통여스
But they have a surprise here, which is that what they have commented here.
반나가서 딘지 슈분 코르데아이나요 따동지 지아이나 베데가 로만도이나레 딘지 베 세부슈진 통데한지 두스
Even if it is being moved, but if we kind of set ourselves up to kind of intently look at something with some sense of intentional behind it, then it seems to have an effect in kind of how we could see it. Because if you were intent on seeing one particular thing, then you seem to succeed in seeing it.
반나가서 딘지 코르는 딘지 카디츠다이나 진통시야도 연들이 파지다이나 And
depending on the position of the eye, just like kind of looking at it or kind of taking it away from it, you seem to get different illusions.
that the Ginamason Dindiji, Pajon Chosaris, Panaombo Tobici, and I think Tonogini, and the Pashu yet the Shivala, and you could shit to a Dindika Tonio Saris. Panakuton China Ombo Siligicheni, Pashu yet the Shiala, and the Chabo Yurti, and Ombo Tobi, and Tashi Chena. Based
on this, what they propose is that although we do speak of people with different faculties like sharp faculty and middling and less, but even given that they have such differences, if they could resort to some particular skills or methods, then there is a way of making up for that, compensating for that too.
당아준디 다스르몬지 기도 열라티니네 초와도 만초와 단 초와라티니 차고세 아니 등어도 여기도 다치긴 잠만 아니 초와기네 레이두스 아니 만초이 전에 소소를 딘센도 디케도 다치와 다치 야 차차장 아니 만초이 전에 레이두스 이나 걸상아서 만초디 시야이나 아니 때로서야 소소 아니 선tem지 지야요 아니 편도였어레스.
So based on this, they kind of make a general proposition that what is happening is we have a stimulus out there based on which we have a stimulus in relation to which we may approach either being under the influence of illusion or not. If we give in to the illusion, then there is more chance of ourselves bumping into problems, and that leads to sufferings and being vulnerable. Whereas in the other case, if we succeed in withstanding the illusion, kind of and succeeding in maintaining clarity, then there is more chance of kind of leading to better prospects. Thank you. Oh, yes.
If I could see the chart once more.
The TV, there are just.
So I can even without the chart. There's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the chart. Yeah, so I see 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure.
And in dark blue is people with one eye open.
Diderogi. Mixigre.
People with one eye is the lighter one.
Sorry, that's the lighter one, and the dark blue is both eyes open.
Yes.
Okay.
야 돼야 돼요라. 된 주식 취약.
주식 취약.
I didn't understand what 1, 2, 3, and 4.
아버님 숨을 쉬어도 가래. This is a report for the different participants. They had 6 participants in each group,
Wow.
and this is accounting for each one of them in pair, and the height of that is the amount of illusion.
Okay, but were those different kinds of people in 1, 2, 3, and 4, or?
Yes,
all?
out of 6 from each group, they only could show only 4 of them each.
Okay. Yeah, and what's the surprise here? I missed that. Yeah.
Surprise, 그래. They cannot.
다기 가시 베드가 무직 그다이나 베드가 무이 그다이 지금 통치야.
가시 던지 쇼선으로.
주시체.
아. 미니도 지금 바란 리지라 미지가 따와이나요. 주시 좋아. 미니가 따와 주시 채와 던지 미지라 쇼선스. 아니 찬영 찬했잖아. 미지도 니가 있잖아. 아니 미지가 주시 채와 된 용거 됐어.
So the surprise is that the average is that mikjik dena tunansia dora. Right? No. The average, on the average, it seems like more tend to have the illusion effect more if they look at it with one eye, whereas in some cases it's just the reverse.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
So this is this one.
이게 도마들이야 다 결로 도마로야 단 산자기들 휴야.
My greetings and hearty good morning to all, including our teachers and classmates.
근데 다 드린다님이 나좀 마이잔데기야 로저저도 나 동봉만데 넘버서 오저종에도 혼생 오저종에디.
So among the 4 members of the team, he has the responsibility of doing a brief introduction.
일단 오저될 지 가르침바라 인지고니 줘야더니 동보들이야 로저종에 개개 넘버 가까리면 오저자지다. 님바들이야 혼생 공조야 혼생 오저자 인휴야.
Introduction has 2 parts. First is introducing the team members. The next is the team itself.
다 드린다님이 로저종에 그 넘버 되게때 자이찬이 콘 넘버 가르쳐 버렸으나 다지 농촌에 걸이야 로조주시네. 다 농촌에 다다 로니에 자잉아지리야 다니 로조주신 다 농촌에 걸이야 하르조야 체 동보래시네 타나닝에 들쳐도스.
My team members are all they all share in the feature. They all share in the case that they have reached very high level of Buddhist understandings, Buddhist trainings.
드니 님비찰이야 콘넘버서 가르레서나 다 나셔널 공사 챔부에 특 챔부 인시네. 데 densa 콜이야 체리 주야셔도 데 토마기야 호단 롱에요 쳐도라. 데 다디 찰이야 코다 로트기 차히노니야 노셔네. 데 다다 호 탕에 들이 쳐도스.
At the same time, we are the first graduate in this implementation phase of Emory Science Initiative, in that we started from the very first year, and here we are in the last year.
드니 다니 콘넘버야 다 가래. 근데 메디아 메디아 마사셔라.
주주시래요, 뭐다.
아오게.
주주요, 뭐다.
라서 다 콘넘버야 메큐비나 콘 잔세 덴지레 네 콘 파토레 콘 네자체레스
Yeah,
나 잔세 노이스
these are our names.
근데 혼생 오저줘야 돼다 짜이잖이야 시den기 다 촌노영에 공연받들이야 다 참편로다 폐지 간흡이 전에 간로와이나요 답에 근데 온자 레비 온자 시워저라리와여도 레비 온자 배 개체 뭐 시워이스
For every kind of development, particularly of living organisms, living beings, nervous system is very crucial.
대인도 다 나서야 레비 온자기 다지 그 찬원 간을 점으로 걸어야 또시 긴주들이 줘야 대소도 다 레비 온자기야 동의분들 거로 닝해지 찬원 저거 돼 요나 델이야 로스지 찬원 저거 돼와 드네 대신 대소도 다지 찬원 만다 그 다가래 통초 다 년초도 근데 전에 찬노면 뭐라 온게 뭐 니스지요 임바지 정도라 뭐 니스 많이 바 찬노지 같은 정도
So their test focuses on if at all there is a difference between perception and reality. A perception be that had from any different sensory modality.
그래서 딱 가서가 통속이 전이었더니 레바가 찬노 간다 점을 도와주시니 대 저기 때려 다 도망가면 찬노 던지 정하대 간다시는 정거였더니 저가 나오주시니 다 찬노 던지 정거는 딱 말해서는 던지 나오주 대다 저한테 쉬세요 던지 도와주시니
So, but primarily they are going to base their presentation and the data on visual perception and reality. And from this point, I asked another member of my team to take over.
아니 다 조니 기남바 선보 조지 때니 다 디모용라니 다시 delosi가 요 토mer.
다시 delect to all of you, especially to our wonderful
teachers. 다
teachers.
ngasu 롭적거니 다데 소데 ngasu 주션로 간데 나 조데니 멜론나다니 나년 처리니 딜라니 러화 유야데 나년 처리 때니 러화 용바데 트와 스템즈니 딘디 트와 지기 요스.
Oh, so their question was whether I think they did the box illusion. I think. And the question was whether the mirror could really lead to actual illusion as to where the actual hand is.
어떤데 가수니 소적제리 다 가수 딱세제대니 뭐도서 다 가수 딜 호정 그 단들이 딱세지기 연진에 든디 말라와지로와 아니 메카실라니 다 가수 든디 딱세지열이 다 든디 지도 다 konsukandi lab kore te tambo de ni dinadin thwa yongorira yongomare yongomare lavare konsutani chojang raw tandi konsul yongomare lavare thwa yongomare lavare lakha yewate yombala ni melona tan chayi zinyate lakha yombala thirkomare chni tandi lab kandi
konsul lavwa
on konsul.
So when they presented this to their participants, they made sure that they would not explain to them what could happen. Instead, they just politely asked if at all they could be influenced by the illusion of their hand being somewhere else than it actually is. And they said, they all almost said that no, they would not have such evolution.
어떤이다 가수니 딱시지에다 트라미나다 다가랑 가수 딱시지 고진다 다가랑이 실고지 저다 칸이 게나바트 중앙서 디 딱시지 땅을 받진디 나냐다나다 참마거니 하고 그래 디 나오진 가수 딱시지지에나.
And then based on what they said, our hypothesis was that they could be proven wrong, and then they proceeded with the experiment.
다 딱시지 온디다 딱시람바니 담 멋지니 섬든디니 딱시람바 몸보지에 연스.
미치니 숨라.
오늘 뭐 섬든 드리즈가 딱시지에 연라.
So they carried out the experiment. You are all familiar with this box illusion thing that we all saw our teachers showing us. That's exactly what we did, and we did that on four participants.
딱시지 온디다 딱시 담보텔라니 미 차창로 식발에 딱시지 온디 담보텔라 람바 담보텔라 코 딱시지 온디 코 트완로 하창거니 코 침보든디 적건디스 단디 가수 디 디그리긴 거네 가수
미리 숨숨 제르베.
오늘 미 심라라와 미 심라 딱시 탕섬 미리리라니 딱시 심심라와 든디지.
So they repeated the test on the three people, and they did it 3 times on each.
다 딱시람바 담보지두된 든디 트와 침보용 딱시 니와 지두 든디레 딱시 선바지두 대전 트와 되냐니 다가랑 용으로 로인디 다데 저탄 트와 연바다 식발이 차창로와 트와 되냐 마녀때 용으로 든디 로인디 콘수다 라관 든디 지는데 라관 연바 든디 나답담데 든다사데 직슈에나다 딱 담보때 쉬운 든디 지도와 다 되니 니와때 시다시다 다 쿠하고고로 영 선바때 시다시다 마용바 든디 용고들.
So illusion seems to take root in all the cases, even when it is repeated, which they did 3 times on each. But the amount of illusion, the intensity of that seems to come down a little bit, because it is very clear when they were having the illusion, they kind of faked in hitting on it, then the reaction seems to be always there, except it differs in intensity.
Tani ta ti ngasu chojig te ni chirka mare jin konsu chojig jiwa te li ni dog te ta be tanjik te ni tagarang chwa chak song.
So they happens. I mean, in the case of the participants themselves, they were all agreeing that they would not fall under the influence of the illusion, which they intended to prove wrong, and so they succeeded in proving them wrong.
Tani chiri tani ta chupton te ta tagarang ngasu chojig jiwa te tagarang ni chirka mare jin tani kilin daw ma sona tani chichiwe re na ta dokton ta tarton daw ni teli dokte ko chwa chak song ta tere chupton.
So the conclusion is that they proved their hypothesis right, and the hypothesis of the participants proved wrong, in that they all fell under the spell.
Dati du ngarang su namjen ta nga su sha de la ni ta nangcher tang ni cheng ka man tham ba ya de ti to gan zhe ni ta sha ka lam ni ani simji ji yong de ngu sa pan to chim bon de la.
In a way, it's a big deal in Buddhism, where we are very early on warned that there would always be a disparity between what we see and what actually is, and this is a wonderful example to show us that.
Tani ta nga su de namba so ni loptik ta sa ni ani chwa chi la ni ta tandi ni chwa te yong te la pi cha si kang kang ni chwa te yong go yo res nga su shi jin ta da rang da ta tang boy na ta ji ni ta te la kwa melon na ta chwa te energy nyen te ta la kwa yong ba te mai sam ma yang che de yong do wa te yong te kan chi ni yong res te khon sa chwa ji tang gen te ni namba su ani chi son ronance.
So they have a question for the audience, in that where would you locate this illusion in the brain? And another is that despite the fact when they did this twice and thrice, and they kind of knew in the back of their mind that this is illusion, yet at the same time they seem to fall for that, in that they couldn't help but have that what do you call a reaction. So the question is, where in the brain does this happen, and why is it that we still fall for the illusion despite knowing that it is wrong? So this is a question for the audience. So he's saying, he's turning the table around. Since you are making the presentation, you did the experiment. Turn that question back to you, and what's your answer? Yeah, so sorry to say, our experiment was seeing whether those participants were going to fall for the illusion or not in locating where this is in the brain.
ngaru lebi chahil kanang chang du mun ta gi chajin zang yo mara de zu lebi chal kana chag yo me de ta nga sa ko mas ina lebi ten ko ngubin ni zel mantang ge ko ngubin ni jong ya chanu sha mo de ba shi ngubin ni zel mantang ge ji ya ta tong zo de nian zo ge ji ya ngubin ni ko mantang ge chanu ten de chag du yos.
We could have done better in answering this question if we had the facility of imaging or whatnot. So in the absence of that, we cannot. But what is very clear is that there is definitely disparity between appearance and reality.
It will be very difficult, in his opinion, to locate a specific area responsible for the illusion. Rather, the illusion could be caused by how you manipulate the stimulus, and not in that there is a specific area they are responsible totally for the illusion. So in his opinion, although on the surface their experiment and what they did earlier with the magic thing seem to be similar, but in terms of the minute mechanism of it, there seems to be a big difference. In that, in their case, it is how you manipulate the stimulus by kind of moving it too quickly that the process in the brain seems to have hard time catching up with that, and that's how the whole process of detecting it fully doesn't get completed. And whereas in their case, they are saying that it may have to do with mind being influenced by already laden concepts. Already laden concepts that the mind seems to carry seem to interfere here in making the illusion, despite the clear understanding that this is an illusion. Mm-hmm.
On your graph, what are you measuring on the y-axis, on the vertical axis?
Mm-hmm. And the remotisha nalone se kari jegiyus. Dusia vertical siya jong ya ringbu jangdi se kari jegiyus.
근데 너는 바깥 매 종가들어. 너는 여기 거는 찬우 먼저 다 cheche 줘라. 대신
다시 들어와.
멋지게 들어라.
찬영으로 와.
그 멋지.
담았으면 제베. 네 미치기로 해.
멋지 들려고 됐어.
미치기로 담았으면 해.
멋지 팀아선서도 동보도 그 배트는 그 챔벌려고 됐어. 가르세나 그 나빠때 이비 존이 이거는 파차온데 그 정말 쉬워 챔벌려고 됐어. 이만 것들이 차와 연바데 의성시에서도 차차도 좀 대해서 내고 못 됐어. 근데 저 팀아 가르 모르잖아. 그 저는 큐큐준다고 됐어. 다 근데 저는 내야 돼요. 가서 가르친 하고 그러잖아. 라바 이바가 존이한테 면허는 차차. 라바 이거 파지가 코연이 뭐 따져는데 딱 그거는 뒤 존이한테 라바 이거 레드가 상상도 디 라바 이비 코통 뭐 잡아 시신 디 들이치도 해고는 대차도 그 라반데 이거 주텐로 됐어.
진짜 가지고
라바 이거 이바도 코통 맞아. 존이 면허는 통치로. 단들에서 저 쉬어야 라바 이바 거는 주어지면 그때서 해고는 차도 라바 이거 레트한도 거라. 라바 이거 주텐로. 얘도 그 저는 교정 뭐 어디 된대래 됐어.
So in the graph, what they're showing is the three bars there. The three bars each represent the first, second, and third time on each individual. It's the average on each individual in those 3 times that they did the experiment. And the length of that shows the level of the intensity of the illusion. The illusion is always there, except it doesn't seem to be as intense as in the first time.
The intensity of the
the intensity of the illusion, because they measured this from the reaction.
Okay, so that would be seconds?
Pardon?
That would be seconds, or that would be distance that they pulled their hand back?
Yeah, in how they explain it is the distance and the force with which they pull it. Because they would make them look into the mirror at the image, at the reflection of the right hand, and without making them look at the right hand, they kind of are made to focus on it. And when they kind of see impression of it's being hit in the reflection, they pull the left hand, not the right.
So I know you don't have brain imaging, but suppose you could do a brain imaging study what do you think would explain the illusion? The hand is over here. You think the hand, you're looking in the mirror, looks close, but it's far. But when the hammer or the fist comes down, and that illusion is very fast. So what part of the brain can you speculate? Would it be lower brain, higher brain, brain stem, cortex, proto-self, or extended consciousness? What would you see in the brain image?
제네 단단 남수데 따지제 나놀라 니 빨래양 주제도 베지당 중요 말이스. 그래서 빨래양 주제도 베지당 땅야 중네. 안테네기 아니 춘낭기 신데 바깝라 아니 레베나 따토베 온 땅나 아니 레베 차시 가왈라 구조 용에 레와제 비스 레베 차 방마 시림레베 범바림레베 땡림레베 레슈르베 아니 가소레 브레인스템션에 레 가소레 레강 롤레샵 레강르베 아니 야디메나 셈르베 달이나 아니 지 포기 다 세르보다 야제베 다 세르보 가와질라 아니 슈키스테 레용 가소레 구조도 통하여 와제비스
맞을때 라바가나네다 라피 차시 깡깡네네 된지란 로고 요메터서 때서 심직지에로 옛날에 따때 이화서 갖고 오면 돼 되니 대두티 점산하고때 무사까니 든든든리레지니 쉬야 쉬 토마송라 인조 옛날에 가서때 차시 깡깡네네 된지란 로고 요메터 송가서 때 심직지에 옛날에 때 이화서 갖고 마서
Yeah, they did wonder into what part of the mind might be, or of the brain might be activated more to reflect these reactions, whatnot. But they could not come up with any clear understanding.
Anybody else? What causes that? We gotta go. Okay. Sorry. Tell me later.
다 토마 다 라산 당 천자 양비게 게게 나바순 당 이니 까니마 일로자 게 나바니제 아니 진로지바 소말이야 산데 다시 딜레스니셔이
First and foremost, my greetings, heartfelt greetings to wonderful, knowledgeable, inspiring teachers and assistants here in the form of translators. And my colleagues, greetings to you all.
네 나서게 다다지게 민로데 아니 다데 아니 시두게 다지지냐 예스는 어떤 데지요이
So their experiment, their project deals is a stoop experiment involving sound.
당아서게 다 토마 저한테 가르레스나 원나 텔라티네 카도 게다 미팅바지는 노예 당시야게 저한테 차디스
좋아하니?
원나 텔라티네 카도 게다 미팅바지나 이니 노예 당시
비
카도지 된로 게다 이니 가르다 미팅바지바 이나 이나 저바 이나 노예 당시
Oh yeah. So the question before them is if there is incongruency between the color and the content of the color, the letter word. If there is incongruency between the word and the color it is represented, would it cause more errors or not?
저한테 간디지 슈아레스나 단다 건리야 게나 버저기 말러티 제우 디sambalaya ini pi machine ji ini kareresena nyong to kareresena pi machine ti gro te de nyong de khado manda te ba ina ini ka zena khado le ya ini no me ba ini ngi ji tu bare si bi to ji te ja chen de to ti shwa yin yes.
Yeah, the question before that, the wondering question before them is drawn from one of the lessons where I think it is Dr. Mel who said that if it were written in Tibetan, then it wouldn't have any effect, and there would be less error in recognizing the color.
다 저한테 내가 전부 간지 차고였으나 다 뒤순 주된 수속이 트드 모타 칼로와 되게 모타 동신 빈간에 네 가르스나 라토 카바단 대화신의 배제제바이나 ini doje shwa de lore le ya ini kar saya ji ta ini she la so shwa de ini kar sana o shi so ta je ji le ya ini kar chodan do do shi ba de ji yes.
This test is significant based on this background happening in the society these days. In that the National Safety Council reported that cell phone use while driving leads to 1.6 million crashes each year.
Ta nga so de ta che ye ta de kar re se na de ren do si ru ni kar re se na ta che ani da de ni ti di ne mo dong ko le ya ni kar re se na ini ta che rim ba che ba yis
Tande nyin je
da de ni je da de da ye je ge si ru je ra da de.
Oh yeah. Mhm. So they, in terms of how they did the experiment, they used stoop experimental test, which has video, which is an audio video facility, and they did it on nine people each, 2 groups. Oh yeah. So they showed them. They talk on them.
Da le ga ta ji.
Mada, chada legra.
Ne tu du da mu da de.
Tatang ne.
Jil da.
So they did this stoop test accompanied by the audio component, where the audio sounds may not necessarily conform with the color.
Ta nga ba ge tun de da de kar yin se na ni mu ti bi ge da je na ni no ma ye ge sia ti is.
What they predicted would be the result would be is that in the incongruent cases there will be more errors.
Ta tin de ji ye ge bi jin se kar re se na de mi ni ni na yi ge da le ni wa ye ba ta le bi ge ge di she ba nga shi che ba ye bi ge jin se ni la so bi ge jin je ni tin de ji no ma de shwa re is.
The reason for them to predict this way is because the pathways, the audio pathway and the visual pathway, the audio pathway is quicker to bring the information, and that way it takes difference in time in how the brain processes them.
Ta ji nge ji ge rim ba da de ta nga so ge tin zi le din la ge ni ma nge ji le din na ge is.
In terms of the actual experiment, how they conducted it, he's going to pass it on to Venerable Legdenla to dwell on that.
다들 단어벌 동안 저기 지당 저기 개생기 냠십기 저 구도 시승진의 저기에서 단다 승바도 바르 인긴 권한 이제 시작 잘했다 시원 많이 지.
They are trying to strictly follow the outline that we found in the worksheet, and they have passed the first 3. Now they are in the 4th question.
다저자니 저 시바들 디자인으로 미나카카도 간디스 지긴 내죠. 당부딩 아주 잠 미팅 뭐 고디선 반 나와 먹니 미도 지긴 있어.
How they are going to measure, and then how they are going to measure would be the number of they will be looking for the number of errors when there is incongruent example.
안단데 인신이 아주 아이베남 소시주다다 디카도 냠도테 아니 나올 고주니 미기 카도 따신도 안 나와서 유미 믹스들 강 장도 되어 있어.
And in terms of what they may be using in doing this measurement would be video materials where there would be a sound component as well as a visual component, and then see where the errors are or not.
안 장도 드셔디 인스라 든저 숨이스. 아니 미굴 디시셔스. 땡지지.
They conducted it on 9 people, and each was given just 1 chance.
근데 미구디야 미충었음 딩었음 치었음 든지기 아니 개버치셔스.
And in terms of the composition of the 9 participants, 3 were of 3 were of higher older age, middling age, and 3 each were of older age, middling age, and younger age.
an chiluk tidar lai desa di iPad di gam dus cherag an amjola iPhone gi an khaltu ko kiji thedri.
In terms of how they conducted it, actually is to connect them through an audio aid to the video, which has a voice component, and based on that, and then what their reading was.
Ani shiwa e dirigi time di ani sursho de la sum yus chiding chizum yura sursho reri dus chisha yus.
They have khari sum khajani.
Tangto millimeters reri lo.
Because there are three subsections within the participants, composed of 3 each person. They have 3 separate sheets attached that reflects the data.
Tating anzu gi tangto duni da ani perigan la sene dinres.
This is the graph representation of the data.
Sunde ani chunga sumche an dingwa sumche chewa sumche dusne. Andi la datumbu di chunga children ra.
Ale. So each pair represents on the left side the children, the middling age, and then the adults. On the what do you call this, X or Y?
Y.
On the Y bar, they have the number of mistakes.
And the Pajudele Kona Mindo Datum but the Damitum Baniro. Datum but on the Norakazu Mida, Damitum but on the Norakazu Midis.
And the coloring here, the coloring code, the green represents congruent examples, right? Green is congruent examples, and the orange is incongruent examples, and the height of that represents the number of errors.
So the numbers of those same this money and Dindigi Norakazu Monu and Chanyam country made the numbers of Gichik soon to the rest.
So let me test if you can read the bars here, if you can read my graph here. Can you tell who has more errors, in what age group? Can you tell the classmate?
I mean the Taganjaman Dodo that Chuasum Rogi, the Chuasum Digan Tajara, the Datum but on this number Chuasum Yakazu Norris, Red and Norshas, Datum Badigan. Chuasum Tibidala, Tibetan, and already Udus.
For the youngest group, even in congruent examples, they make mistakes, and in this particular test, each one made one mistake. It's in the congruent examples.
That Mitum Badela, any Chig no, Shembini Norshas.
In terms of the incongruent examples, 2 of them made
Chig knowledge, Nigi Norshas.
So one of the participants made 1 error, and 2 others made 2 each.
Tani ta Parmalaura. Odinania Michi Chig Norshas, Shembini Normandos.
In the middling age group, of the 3, only 1 made 1 mistake, others 2 didn't.
Atana sing guitar Mitum Badela, Michi the Betseto Shun Norshas, Dodonga Norshas, Nairo, Sushinga, Mitumanga Teshara, Naga Norshas.
Oh, here in the incongruent example, it's quite surprising to see how at least one of the young adults made mistake in all the cases. Whereas they are on the other end of the spectrum, in that one made all mistakes and others 2 didn't make even a single mistake.
Ta Gemba any tumba Mitumba de la Yang, any Gemba Chik the Ni Norshas. Gemba
No. Or among the older ones, in relation to congruent examples, 2 didn't make a single mistake, whereas 1 made 2 mistakes.
Tadana is in Mitumba de la and Chik the Bechavan Norshas, Naga Norshas, any Chikidini Norshas, Chikidi Normandus.
In the incongruent category, the older ones, 1 they kind of all over, in that 1 made no mistake, another made 2 mistakes, the third one made all mistakes.
Tadi Dandadi Gangi, Perikoran and Dishi.
So this is just the explanation as is represented in the bar, in the graph.
티 당번이 무슨 발은 미 당번이 무슨 발 간잘 셔있어.
Don't mistake it to 123. It is 123.
미라 아니 총았음 당번이 무슨 찍 놀아봤다. 놀아요 봐도 미팅 비팅라 노니 찍
So this is basically explaining in statement what you just saw on the probes, on the bar.
다디나는 바르바디나 미찍제 놀아요 말이스라. 간사 니바디지에 놀면 도 이내야 그게 줘봐디라. 말라운스 뭐 대화도 심발든.
In the case of the middling group, there was there was one person who made no mistake at all, except he took little longer time. Longer than others. Similar observation in the older group, in that one never made any mistake except he took little longer. So in terms of the outcome, whether it supported their hypothesis or not, on the whole it did support our hypothesis, except there was one surprise in that we didn't expect anyone to make any mistake when there is congruency between what the audio says and what the visual sees. Even there they see mistake, and that was some surprising.
안다 개바디 저 아주 다 책에 가르쳐 저 뒤져 용한다. 아니 저기 신도도 배 쉽지 자고 고다 오늘 지는 염시바 이메 차네. 어디서 꽤 토마선스.
There is much more room for improvement in this, in that there was not much time, and then in terms of detail, in terms of data collection, they could have done even more detailed and more minute, which they couldn't do.
아주 뒤져 등진 제저라. 미디 가서 그룹 디칼레 가시죠 선스.
The most difficult part was regulating the time, keeping the time.
다니 저 구바디 가르스나 레베 퇴절 말라다 다미기 통절 말라라라 진짜다 디 그게 용할 때네 그 뉴르 가주 뉴나 양스라 뒤지도 옹보민다가 닐라 열리 레바 호랑 열린데 단저라 티베 다치신 뭐 찍어 찍을 도움을 줬어도 그라 추워 연구도 슬라이드.
So the auditory system and visual system of the brain, when they are presented with these different information, no matter how quickly they are presented, it is difficult for it is difficult for two different organs. It is difficult for the brain to kind of cope up with this simultaneous information they are getting from two outlets, and that too without mistake. That is a little difficult for the brain to do. To explain on how and why such kind of this project is important to the society. We have seen that if suppose we have a project before us or work before us which involves visually looking at something, then if we are interrupted by some kind of audio information, then that seems to disrupt the visual mechanism, visual performance. So likewise, it confirms the proposition in the scriptures, which it says that the worst enemy for a meditator is sound, unwanted sound, distracting sound. And here too, it proves the fact that when one is focused mentally on something and then it's still exposed to different distracting sounds, that seems to compromise on the performance. Particularly, it is very pertinent to the drivers. When they are driving, they are primarily using their visual mechanism. So if they could be exposed to less sound, distracting sound, that would be very important. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. So, can you clarify a bit how you treated each participant? What exactly did you do with if I was a participant, what would you do with me in the experiment?
따지 제백갑라. 따지 제백갑라. 기시 콩 따지나 냠수 시행지메나. 견주 따지나 콩라 가리체바스.
다 조디리 안조 딘다디 아베기 비도하기 타디 니체스도 디테니 조 크랑게 카도 카르토한테 컵도 그런마 안지르지스 다디네 땅이 안조 미세 암존나 기로 달리레스 조 크랑 카도 응진데 가주 교규치 치르지스 응진 체난지로.
They would be cued to the video thing. They will be cued to the video thing where it shows the color as and accompanied by a sound component, affirming just reading the sound, reading the color. Reading the color.
조 춘다 카리미.
맞다. 타디.
다도스 루샤라.
맞다. 타디 갈라 보래.
다디 카도 툼바도 미투마니 ор 인고는 레죠. 다기 카브레 마울 다치 말라그레 치기 마울 세우디네 라그라.
Oh, I see. The sound component is not to be relied. It is never reliable. Sometimes it confirms the color, and sometimes it does it wrong.
Okay, but am I sitting in front of a computer or?
Yes, you are sitting in front of
and I'm wearing headphones.
Yes, you are sitting in front of a computer wearing earphone, and you are taught that irrespective of what you hear, tell the color of what you see.
Thank you.
I guess it is time. Time for tea?
It's fast.